I worked at a jewelry store in a mall close to my community college, and while my time there was short, I have experienced one person returning an engagement ring. It was the week of Mother's Day, and he was the first person I was able to sell diamonds to since I had completed my diamond certification course, or whatever you call it. He told my boss and I that he wanted to propose to his girlfriend, who also happens to be the mother of his 3-year-old son. Being my first customer, I put extra effort to make sure we found the exact ring he wanted. After searching for hours, he picked out the diamond that was a specialty diamond to the store, kind of like how Case has a Leo diamond. We wished him luck and never saw him again until a month later. He walked into the store and asked to speak to my manager. They were talking for about 10 minutes and my boss proceeds to grab his shoulder because it looks like he was about to cry. And then he started the engagement ring return. After he left, I asked my boss what happened. Come to find out, his fiancée had said yes, but then I guess guilt started to settle in. She told him she wasn't sure if his son was actually his. Worst part of it all is he helped raise the child from day one and even involved him in the proposal. When I graduated high school, I met a guy who was a refugee from the Middle East. We ended up dating, but I found out he was cheating on me, so I broke up with him. Later on, I found out I was pregnant. When I told him, he freaked out and wanted me to get an abortion, and when I told him no, he said he'd do everything in his power to make sure I lost the baby. Once he figured out I was keeping the baby, he tried his best to get back with me, but I denied him. That's when I found out that the girl he was cheating on me with also got pregnant. When I tried reaching out to her, she called me crazy. I just wanted to warn her to make sure she's okay. Over the years, he kept trying to come back for me and the baby, but I kept him at a distance. His other girlfriend reached out to me and told me he went to jail because he put hands on her. I tried to warn the girl that he cheated on me with that he was no good, but it wasn't until her third child that she finally saw his true darkness. She regrets meeting him and not listening to me, but then we found out he's engaged to someone back in his home country. We both tried reaching out to her, but she didn't want to hear any of it. We tried to tell her that he has 4 kids, 1 with me and 3 with someone else, but she didn't believe us. I know I've done my part for reaching out, but I still feel really bad for this girl and what her future entails. I don't know what I should do. I'm currently 2 months pregnant, but my mother-in-law has clearly stated she is not happy for me and hates that I'm pregnant. She's been coming over a lot to cook for us, but I haven't been eating her food. Not because I don't like it, I'm just in a lot of pain and very nauseous. But she's always complaining about it. I've been taking a lot of vitamins for my pregnancy, and when my mother-in-law asked, I didn't think much of it. This past Sunday, she came into our house and stayed for hours. Everywhere I go, I see her looking for something. I ask what she's looking for, but she doesn't say what, so I walk away and give her privacy. The past few days, I've had really bad abdominal pain, upset stomach, headache, and nausea. So when I called my doctor, she asked if I was taking anything, and I said yes, vitamins. She asked me to bring them in. That's when she told me it wasn't vitamins, it was actually aspirin. I knew right away my mother-in-law was the one who switched them out. I can't believe it. My mother-in-law made me feel so sick, and I almost miscarried if I didn't go see a doctor. I told my husband and he confronted his mom. She completely denied it and said she would never do anything to harm her unborn grandbaby. It's so clear that she replaced my vitamins and she's lying about it. I'm so upset and I feel like I'm not being safe with her. I have no trust and I want her out of my life. But my husband says we have no proof. I've been 100% financially independent from my parents since the day I graduated college. I have a sister who is about a decade older than me, and my parents promised each of us a set amount of money towards our weddings. My sister used this money to have a big, beautiful wedding, and now it's my turn to get married. But my parents have admitted that they gave away the money they had saved for my wedding to my sister. My sister, a mother of one, had a series of health problems and had to freeze her eggs if she ever wanted to have another child. She didn't have the money and only had a few weeks before her hysterectomy, so she asked my parents for the $13,000, which they obviously gave her. I know I sound selfish for prioritizing my wedding over her fertility, but she was 36 when she got the diagnosis. There was no telling how long it would take for her health to recover, and it would be years before they could even afford supporting another infant. I knew she would never have the means to use those eggs before she was 40, and she has made it very clear that she wouldn't want to have an infant at that age. In my opinion, she acted in panic and wanted a safety net that she knew she would never use. But I'm still upset that now I won't be able to have much of a wedding because I've been counting on the funds my parents had promised. I'm not upset that they gave it to her, but I am upset that they gave it to her knowing nothing would come of it. They traded my wedding day for her brief peace of mind. So, am I overreacting? Am I the asshole? My husband had a really bad headache, so I decided to take my daughters for a walk to the pharmacy to get him some medication. On our way there was a dog who was barking and lunging at us, but we didn't worry about it because he was on a chain. On our way back, the same dog was barking and lunging at us, but this time the chain snapped. I saw a big black mass moving fast towards us in my peripheral, and I just picked up my daughters and ran. My twins are both 5, and that's like 40 pounds each, but adrenaline strength is real. The dog was right behind me, and my daughter on my left was slipping, and I didn't want her to fall and get bitten. We were passing a house with a fence, and I kind of tossed her over the fence into the lawn and kept running with my other daughter. I was screaming for help when someone came over and scared the dog away. I ran to find my other daughter to find she was unhurt, but she was crying and saying I left her, and why couldn't I have thrown her other sister instead? We got home, and my daughter ran to my husband crying, "Mommy threw me over the fence." After telling him what happens, I thought he would understand, but he started saying things like, "What if she got hurt? What if she fell on some glass and cut herself? What if the dog stopped chasing you and jumped over the fence at her?" I was already guilty, and I was like, okay, sorry, I get it. But he kept going, so I finally snapped. He wasn't there, so it's easy for him to say what I should have done. I did it to save both of them. My boyfriend and I went to his sister's wedding last Friday. They've always had a strained relationship, but overall it was a great wedding. We were enjoying the party when my boyfriend goes up to the DJ and asks for the microphone. I thought he was going to do a toast for his sister, but no. He asked me to come up to him and I was terrified. I remember thinking to myself, he is not going to do that. No way. I take a quick glance at the bride and she is furious. He then proceeds to propose to me at his sister's wedding. Everyone was cheering for us, but his sister just looked like she wanted to cry. I didn't know what else to do other than say yes. I was crying, but not happy crying. After that, I went up to his sister and was apologizing over and over. She was livid. I felt so sorry for her. I left early and my boyfriend came back to the hotel room at 2 a.m. hammered. And so I decided to confront him. At first he was like, babe, my whole family was there and it was the best time. Until he finally admitted that he did it because his sister had ruined his graduation by announcing her wedding. He used my proposal to get back at his sister. I left the morning after and haven't talked to him since. I don't know what to do. He won't stop calling, but I'm overwhelmed with emotions. I had a girlfriend in college who got pregnant at 19 and I was 20. I freaked out and wrongly blamed her for everything and said there is no way I wanted to be a dad. I signed over all my rights and I haven't seen her since. I'm now 30, but I had an accident a few years ago that has made it impossible for me to father any children. This was a hard blow to my wife, and our marriage has struggled as I'm not willing to adopt, but she wants children. So I contacted my ex about seeing them, and maybe my wife would be happy in a stepmom role. My ex said no, and when I protested, she basically told me tough luck. I said he was my kid, but she actually said he's not. I signed my rights away, so I have no children as far as the law is concerned. She says my kid has a real dad and a life, and I've never been a part of it and never will be. I was so angry, and I started yelling about taking her to court for custody, and she laughed at me and said good luck. I was venting to my brother and he just laughed at me and said no judge would give me custody or regular visitation after a decade of no contact just because I suddenly found myself sterile and wanted to appease my wife. He also said I'm not treating him like an actual person, and did I even once stop to consider the fact that he wouldn't even know who I was? I shouldn't have threatened to go for custody, and I admit that. People are acting like I've done the worst thing ever by contacting my ex. Once when I was around 6 or 7, my mom brought home some delicious chocolate and gave some to me. I loved the stuff and stole the bar that she had saved for my stepdad. He comes home and my mom can't find the chocolate. She asked me what happened to it. I blame the dog Duncan, knowing that he often eats things off the counter. I didn't know at the time that chocolate was toxic for dogs. My mom goes terribly pale and rushes Duncan to the vet, and he has to throw up. I felt terrible about this, and I thought it was because he stole the chocolate and was some form of punishment. So the next day she brings home more chocolate, and nobody told me that it was for Duncan's own good that he was taken to the vet. So feeling bad for doing this to Duncan, I gave him my chocolate, this time thinking he deserved it after taking one for the team. Later that night, my mom asked me how the chocolate was, and this time I decided to tell the full truth and explain that I gave the chocolate to Duncan this time as I felt bad for getting him in trouble yesterday. So after another late night trip to the vet, I was finally told that chocolate is toxic for dogs. Duncan was fine in the end. Now the twist is that the very expensive vet trips cost a lot of money, which prompted my mom to take a look at our expenses. That's how she found out our stepdad was hiding an affair and then got a divorce. My cousin in high school recently turned 18. She doesn't have a car, and during her birthday weekend thought our parents were going to buy her one. When they didn't, she was pretty upset. I should note that I'm not very close with my cousin or the rest of my extended family for that matter. Anyways, my cousin texts me on the Friday before her birthday asking if she can take my car to the mall and then for an out-of-town road trip with her friends over the weekend. I tell her no. She begs and pleads with me, but I tell her no again. My car is for me to drive and for me only. If she wants her own car, she can save up and buy one. She calls me a bitch and says that I ruined her birthday and that she's embarrassed because her friends think she got a car for her birthday and she doesn't have one. I don't respond to her and think nothing of it. I wake up on Saturday morning to find that my car has been egged and TP'd. And since the weather was warm outside, the raw egg baked into my car along with the dried up toilet paper destroying the paint. I check my security cameras and I find my cousin and a bunch of her stupid friends vandalizing my car. I obviously press charges and my cousin is in legal trouble. Her and her parents are pissed off at me for pressing charges, saying she's just a kid and she's going through a phase. Saying things like I'm almost 30 and I don't remember what it was like at that age. Do you think I took it too far by pressing charges on her? I was engaged to the love of my life, but my sister met up with me and begged me to break it off. She said I had to leave him because they were in love. And he was just too afraid to break up with me because he didn't want to hurt me or my family. When I confronted my fiancé about my stepsister's accusations, he straight up denied it. He said she's been trying to come on to him for some time and he never mentioned it because he didn't want to ruin our relationship. He begged me not to believe her and so we continued how we were. My stepsister grew resentful and made nasty comments about how I was forcing a man who didn't even love me to marry me because I had low self-esteem. A month later, I get a text from my sister. It's a video of her and my fiancé sleeping together in my bed and multiple screenshots of him telling her he loved her, how he wished she was the girl he was marrying, and how he hated that I wouldn't let them be together. I was devastated and angry but decided to move in silence. I went home, grabbed all my stuff, removed all my money from my joint account, and moved in with my dad. After that, I sent all the screenshots to my family and his. He tried getting back with me multiple times, but I ended up blocking him when I found out he proposed to my sister with the same ring he gave me. I left it behind. Now they're getting married. I was extremely hurt to find out that my mom, step-siblings, and stepdad were attending the wedding. When I tried to express my feelings, they dismissed me and said it wasn't their fault that I got in the way of true love and made me out to be some sort of vindictive Disney villain. So I cut contact with them and I barely spoke to my mom in 5 years. Fast forward and I get engaged to my now husband. Due to COVID, we had a small ceremony and I also fell pregnant.